Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Hytale modding guide. Today, I'm going to be showing you how to create your own custom crafting bench. So, let's begin. To begin, we're going to open the Hytale launcher as we do for every video. First, we're going to open the settings menu, then we're going to go to open directory, and from here, we're going to go to user data, mods, and we're going to create our folder here. So we're going to hit new folder, and we're going to call this, for this mod, we're going to call it custom benches. In this folder, we're going to create a common. And we're also going to create a server folder. Alongside that, we're going to add a manifest file. I have a template manifest file in the description below if you want to use, but I'm just going to paste one from one of my other mods for the moment. Alright, once you have your manifest file in the folder, you can open that up. And in here, you can alter all the information with your mod. So you can set the group that is creating the mod. So for me, I'm going to call it Vivariums. The name of the mod, which for me will be Custom Bench. And the description, I'm going to use a mod about custom benches. You can of course set the authors that create the mod and then also the website if you want to as well. There are extra things such as dependencies, loading before, but these are not important when you're creating a mod like this. Now, once you create that manifest.json, we're going to also set up the language file. So go to server, click new folder, languages, and inside languages, we're going to create a folder called en-us. And inside en-us, you're going to create a new text document called server.lang. And you're going to click yes, and you're going to open that up. So this is where all the names and descriptions for all the modded items will go, but for the moment, we're going to leave it blank. So for this tutorial, I'm including all my previous mod video content in so I can add them to the custom bench. But if you have your own custom modded items, you can also use those instead. However, to begin, we're going to reopen Hytale and go into a creative world. However, to begin, we're going to reopen Hytale. We're going to go to worlds, create a new world, creative, and go to the settings. And your new mod should appear. So as you can see, we have custom bench here. You're going to select your mod, you're going to set a world name, and you're going to apply the settings and create that. Once you're in the creative world, you're going to do /op self as usual and continue forward. The first thing we want to do to set up our custom bench is to press tab, go to your creative tools, your asset editor, and launch that. Once your asset editor is set up, like I said in every other video, the server files contain all the JSON information to do with every item within Hytale. The common folder contains all of the models, icons, and sound effects and particles and everything else to do with Hytale itself. So what we want to take is a different bench, and we're going to convert that into our own custom bench that we can use for our own items and tools in our mod. So we're going to click the drop down, and we can see we have our custom bench mod here as well. However, we don't know what bench we want to start off with, so I'm going to go into Hytale, going to go to the benches, and we're just going to select one of these to begin with. We're going to use the Arcanist workbench as a template. However, it doesn't matter what bench we use because this one will be entirely custom once we create it. We can see the ID for the bench is bench_arcane. So if we head back into the Hytale asset editor, click the drop down to Hytale, we can search up bench_arcane. And as we can see, it's in the items folder in a bench folder. And we have bench_arcane. To bring this in and make our own custom bench, we're going to switch from the Hytale folder to our own custom mod folder here. From here, we're going to scroll down to item. And then we're going to go to item again. We're going to right click, create an item. For me, I'm going to call it bench_vivarium. However, you can name it whatever you want. It just helps to keep track of what the item is, so make sure to capitalize with capital B or whatever the first letter is, with underscores between. And I'm also going to create a folder to keep track. We're going to call it benches. And we're going to click that folder and click select. This will just put the item inside this folder, inside item. We're going to copy a specific asset. We're going to switch it from our mod to Hytale. Then we're going to search up bench_arcane. We're going to hit create, and that will create our custom bench. However, we're not ready yet. For this one, we're going to go show all properties, and we're going to scroll down until we find the recipe. So from here, we can set our custom recipe for our bench. We're going to get rid of 2 of these, and I'm just going to change it to ingredient bar iron. We're going to say it is 20 iron to craft. The bench requirement you can set as well. So for my bench, I want to craft it inside of the workbench, which is where the ID workbench is. This will be important for all our items, and I will show you how to have our items crafted in our own custom bench as well. I'm going to change the required tier to tier 1. So that means we only need a level 1 workbench to craft our bench. Now we're going to head to the block model. We're going to go down to here, and we're going to alter a few things. So for the block model, I'm going to use a bench that is in Hytale but hasn't been used for anything just yet. So we're going to click the drop down here, and we have an armory.blocky model. And we're going to use this as our reference. And then the block textures, we're going to click the drop down again, and we're going to change it from the arcane table texture. For me, I'm going to use the armory texture again and select that. However, if you have your own custom model, you can then use your own custom model instead. I'm going to show you where you can place the model so that you can access it as well. Once you're in your mods folder, you want to go to common. You want to create an items folder. And inside that items folder, you want to create a blocks folder. Inside this folder, you can set a folder itself. However, all you have to do is import your blocky model and the texture here, and they will be accessible in the Hytale asset editor. So we're going to continue using the blocky model armory, and we're going to select that. And the texture is the armory texture.png. So the icon has updated here to show our new model. I'm going to update this icon again just to make sure. But we can also rotate the model if we want to just have it look differently. We're more than capable of doing that. And we can change the scale. I'm going to reset it to the defaults. Then I'm going to minimize the scale a bit. And once you're happy with your icon, you can click save icon, and that will apply it to the item itself. Now we're going to equip it to see if it actually works. Once we have it equipped, we can place it down, and we can see when we open it, it's still the Arcanist workbench. And this is not what we want, so we're going to update it so that it can be its own workbench. We're going to reopen the Hytale asset editor, and instead of editor, we're going to go over to source. This is where we can change a few things in a bit of an easier way, just once you follow along. So to begin with, what we're going to do is we're going to scroll down until we see bench type crafting. From here, what we will do is we head down to categories, and we're going to change the categories to our own custom ones. Currently, the ID for the first one is arcane_portals. We're going to change this, for me, to vivariums_weapons. Then we're going to go down to arcane_misc, and we're going to change it to vivariums_blocks. And then, so what we can do to add an extra category to our bench is we copy the selection here. We can press Ctrl+C, add a comma at the end of this bracket, press Enter, and Ctrl+V, and just fix this by using a few spaces. We can add in a third category, which I'm going to call vivariums_creatures. And then you can click Apply Changes. However, we're not finished yet. If we scroll down, back to where we set those custom categories, there's also an ID that says Arcane Bench. We're going to call this, for me, Vivariums Bench. The reason we set this ID is because this is what other items need to reference to know where to be crafted. Once we have that set up, we can click Apply Changes. Now we're going to test our bench again. We're going to right click, press F, and we can see we have 3 menus, except for the names aren't set up correctly. Neither is the name when you're hovering over it, and neither is the name inside of our inventory either. To fix this, there's a few things we need to copy. The translation properties, we need to change the name to, instead of bench arcane, to bench_vivarium, and also for the description as well. So that will change the name and the description of the item itself. However, if we scroll down further, we'll see a few more that we have to change. For the categories, we also have server.benchcategories.portals. We want to have server.benchcategories.vivariumweapons. Then we want to change the other one here to vivariums blocks. And then the final one, we want to change to vivariums creatures. The reason we need to apply those bench categories is so that we can set the display name on the inside as well. Once we apply those changes, we should take a look at our item, and now it says server.items.benchvivarium.name, same when you hover over it. And each menu has its now unset name. We're going to fix that using our language file in a moment. So to fix the names of everything, we're going to go back to our mod folder. We're going to go server, and then we're going to go languages, enus, and server.lang, and we're going to open that. Ignore some stuff I have here from previous mods. So what we need to do is take a look at all the references inside of our asset editor and then import them into here. So for my bench_vivarium, we've copied the items.benchvivarium name and description here. So I'm going to set those. And then for the categories, we can also set them too. Once that's set up, we're going to save that file and then we're going to reopen Hytale. Once we're back in Hytale, things may not work. We're going to rejoin the world. Once you're back in the world, your icon should reappear for the bench itself. And then also, as we can see, when we look, it has Vivarium's mod bench appearing. And if we open it, we have Vivarium's mod bench, Vivarium's weapons. We have Vivarium's mod bench, Vivarium's blocks. And then we have Vivarium's mod bench, Vivarium's creatures. With that, we can start by updating these icons, because we don't want to use the boring icons that exist already. So to set the custom icons for our specific bench, we're going to scroll down to categories again. And we're going to note that the icons are always stored in icons/crafting categories / a separate folder for the bench itself. So I have an example here, icons/crafting categories /vivariums, and then my vivariums weapons.png. To set this up, we're going to go back to our mods folder. Once we're in our mods folder, we're going to go over to common instead, create a folder called icons. It may already exist from the fact that we made custom icons for the bench itself using the pen tool. And then we're going to create a folder called crafting categories. It has to be crafting categories, otherwise it will fail. I just realized this while I was testing some things. And inside this, we can set our folder to any name. So we're going to call it Vivariums for this. And within this folder, you can place all of your icons. And once all your icons are here, they should appear in the bench itself as long as everything was named correctly. Before you do anything, make sure to rejoin. You can place your bench down and open it. As you can see here, all my icons are in place. So my weapons icon, my blocks icon, and my creature icons are all in place. However, we don't have anything within our bench just yet. With that, we're going to update that really quick. To include anything that you have created into your own custom bench, I will show you how to do that now. I'm going to show you with my weapons, I'm going to show you with my blocks, and I'm going to show you with my creatures' spawn eggs as well. So for me, I'm going to go to item, item again, and I have all of my modded items from my previous tutorials all here. So for the egg spawner for my dwarf, I have it here. And we're going to go to crafting. We're going to go to the recipe, the bench requirement, and we're going to change the ID to my Vivarium's bench. Remember, the ID is what you set at the bottom of the crafting categories in your workbench. And once that's set as this bench here, we need to set the category as well. So we're going to call it Vivariums_creatures, because that's the category we set. Once that's ready, our item should appear where we want it. However, I'm going to set all of the other items as well. For our grass block, we're going to go to the recipe again. We're going to go to the bench requirement and change it to Vivarium's bench. And the category to Vivariums_blocks. So for my staff weapon, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to go to crafting, the recipe, and we're going to add a bench requirement. Crafting, and we're going to give the requirement Vivarium's bench. Then we're going to add a category. Ignore any of the issues that show up, by the way. And we're going to call it Vivariums_weapons. Same thing for our sword. We're going to go to the recipe. So we're going to change the bench to Vivarium's bench. And the category to Vivariums_weapons. Once that's all in, our items should appear where we want them. As we can see, that they do. We have our sword, we have our block, and we have our creatures. There is an issue with my staff, but I'm just going to fix that really quick. If you're creating an item, ensure that it has a recipe input. I was so confused on why it was not working and not showing my item. That was the reason. And once you have correctly set what crafting bench and also what crafting category each item should appear, as you can see, my sword, my staff, my block itself, and also my creature spawn egg all exist within my own custom bench. I can craft the egg itself, I can craft my block, and I can craft both my weapons here. And now, I can use all my custom weapons from a singular mod. Granted, this key is broken, but don't worry about that. We have our block as well, which we can stand upon. And we can also spawn our dwarf that we can have follow us around. Or we can launch an explosive frog at him. Now, you might want to gate some of these behind some tier requirements, so we can alter that as well. So I'm going to show you how to do that too. So, our bench only has a tier 1 and no other upgrades. If we want to set our own custom upgrades, we can do that as well. The first thing we're going to do is open the Hytale asset editor. Once we're in the asset editor, we're going to switch to Hytale and we're going to go for one of the other benches. I set this one up using the arcane bench because it doesn't have upgrades to begin with and to show you how to set them up. We're going to search up workbench. We're going to click on the bench workbench, go over to source, and we're going to scroll down until we can see where the tiers are. Okay, so underneath the ID, we have tier levels, and each one has its upgrade requirements, the crafting reduction modifier, and how long it takes to upgrade. In our workbench, we see tier levels. We're going to go all the way down until we get to the bottom one, which is here before state, and we're going to copy all of this. We go back to our Vivarium's bench, we're going to go to where the ID is. Once we find our Vivarium's bench ID, we're going to do a comma, and then we're going to select this piece here, and we're going to paste and click apply changes. Once those changes have been applied, reopen Hytale and open your workbench. Now, you have different tiers and requirements. Currently, they use the common workbench requirements, but as you can see, it all functions correctly. Anyways, there you have it. Everything to create your own custom bench. From having different categories with different items within those categories, and also having your bench be upgradable to have different items available at different upgrade levels. I hope you all enjoyed this video, and if it did help you, let me know down below, and do consider supporting the channel by using code OSIP. It really does help a lot if you're planning on purchasing Hytale, and if you've already got Hytale and you're planning to play with your friends, remember you can use my referral link down below to get a discount off of your first G Portal server. If you haven't already and you've made it this far, do consider dropping a like and subscribing to the channel for more modding content by me. Anyways, I'll see you all in the next one.